is India Kern, and welcome to the Divorce Roundtable. Today I have Melina Rissone and I have Joanne Little. So we're going to be talking about real estate and divorce. We have three experts. We work all in divorce. So we want to answer your questions around real estate. So first, I'm going to let both ladies introduce themselves. So Melina Rissone, why don't you go ahead and tell everyone what you do?
Thank you, India. My name is Melina Rissone. I'm a real estate collaboration specialist for divorce, and I'm also an associate real estate broker with Coldwell Banker West in San Diego.
All right. Thanks, Melina. And Joanne, tell us about you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Joanne Little, and I'm the owner of Divorce Help. Divorce Help is a mediation firm based here in downtown San Diego, as well as the second Saturday workshop. And the workshop is for divorce information.
Awesome. So as we all know, because we see it, divorce and real estate can get a bit hairy, right? I mean, I see it. I know that when I was going through divorce, I had to make the big decision to keep or sell the house. I have to admit that I made an emotional decision. Thank goodness it all turned out well, but I do see people that go through divorce, and many times they will make a emotional decision versus a logical decision. So that's what, that's where I come in as a certified divorce coach. So Melina, are you seeing that much in your, with your clients?
Yes, I see that a lot. And I understand it too. It's not always the best decision to have your emotions guide you, especially in the initial phases of the divorce. So we need to kind of really sift through that in the beginning.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And so we have some questions for Melina today because we hear these questions, right? And I, as a certified divorce coach, cannot answer them. So let's start with, should I keep or sell the house, Melina? That's usually one of the first questions they ask.
It is usually one of the first questions. And I think that the financial aspect is most important to look at here. Is it even feasible to have this question on the table, or can we just push it aside because it's not simply not possible to keep the property? So generally, I have this be sort of like the guiding post initially, because there's no point in really going back and forth and have this be a big emotional turmoil if it's simply not possible to keep the property. So that's usually the first step here. And this is where Joanne comes in with the financial background and a loan officer that can help us kind of sift through the financials.
Yeah. So Joanne, why don't you talk about, where you come in this, because I know with your financial background, you help people through this process and then making the logical decision.
Sure, thank you. So obviously the house is generally one of the biggest assets in the community along with the retirement plans. And sometimes there's multiple pieces of property, sometimes just one. Homes, as we are speaking, can have an emotional connection. And also, if children are close to graduating from high school, there's that concern about, relocating them to another school district. So what we do, and one of the first steps, the first financial steps that I work with my clients on, is the disclosure activity, where we list all of the assets, debts, and verify income. During that discussion, during that disclosure meeting, we will talk about the real estate. First of all, whether or not somebody even wants to remain in the home. And then if they do, if there is, as Melina said, the viability to do that, to be able to refinance, ideally, get the other party off, and then be able to equalize them out of their community share of the property. So sometimes people will come in wanting to keep the house, not really realizing what a financial burden it would be, or at least exploring selling the house and then starting anew. So this is definitely a big decision that people have to make. It definitely can be an extremely emotional decision, much more emotional than the money in the bank accounts or retirement. Of course, that's a big deal too. But when it comes to the home and where your kids have been raised and where you lived and et cetera, it really is a big decision. So having the appropriate professionals available myself first to be able to identify things, see if either party even wants to keep the home, whether refinance is viable for one party to buy the other party out, or if a sale is inevitable, and trying to get your head around the fact that that's the direction you have to go. So I so much enjoy having this team to be able to work through those issues for many people.
Yeah. And it's so true. I was just talking to a client yesterday and she was weighing the different paths. Okay, if I keep the house, I'm going to have to buy out my spouse. And then the question, or maybe I want a fresh start, because there's that too. I think some people get tied up with the idea of keeping the house because this is where my son took his first steps, when they may not be able to afford it. And there's something to be said about a fresh start. So I just want to point that out. Melina, there's another question that comes up a lot, and many people are looking that they will have to sell the house. They're divorced and they're going to have to sell the house. Do they need to renovate it or fix it up before they put it on the market?
Yeah, very good question. So the first thing that I evaluate once the decision has been made whether or not the house is being sold or not, I tend to set an appointment, if at all possible, to do a walkthrough so I can take a look and see what kind of marketing strategy and pricing strategy can we set up here with this particular property. So I prefer to take a look at the home myself before I make recommendations. If that's not a possibility, we do like a video call, or also clients can send me videos or a picture so I can help analyze what would be the best solution to take here for this particular property. And then of course, I'm always sensitive to the fact who still lives in the property, are both still there. So sometimes it gets a bit tricky with making these type of visits. But we just navigate through that, and we'll do the best we can there to accommodate whatever the client feels is best.
So another huge question, and we kind of touched on it, is can I buy out my spouse? So that's a big question.
Yes.
So tell us about that, Melina.
Yeah, very good. So I do get this question a lot, and I cannot counsel properly without knowing the numbers. And that's where Joanne comes in. She helps to look at the entire financial picture. And once we can kind of get a better look at how much will be available for housing, for real estate, and for living in general, we can then attribute a portion of that towards how much would be available for a mortgage. And then we can look at getting a cash out refinance or a new home loan for this property, and consider how much would it be on a monthly basis, and does that fit the money that's available.
And Joanne, do you have anything to talk about? Like, I'm sure you have something to weigh in
Sure,
on that subject.
Yeah, I'd like to add a couple points. First, to the question on should I, fix the house up before we sell it. So what happens a lot is in mediation, the couples will decide, okay, we're going to sell the home. And I'll say to them, okay, so to keep you out of the woods, right, let's talk about, are you going to jointly choose a real estate agent? How are you going to, when are you going to put the property on the market? Just kind of go through a few things with them. And then obviously what comes up is, should we fix it up? And I'll always tell them to defer to the professional for that, because it may not be worth it to spend a lot of money to paint the walls white or get new carpet in when somebody may just come in and tear it out. Obviously, here in Southern California, the real estate market has been very strong. So sometimes it may not be worth it to do that. But again, that's more Melina's area of expertise. So I will defer to her before the couple starts quarreling over, no, I want to spend the money. No, I don't want to spend the money. Let's just decide that we're going to go with the professional and their advice. Okay. As far as the buyout goes, that's tricky because we want to kind of identify that early on. We want to look at, are there multiple pieces of real estate, just one? And what are the other assets? And what are the other like assets, right? Because an asset of a retirement plan of tax deferred compensation is not equal to the money in a home or money in a bank account. So we want to have some conversations about that and see if it's viable to do that. And if it is, it does seem viable and both parties are willing. So if it's a community asset, both parties have to be willing to do it. then we will look and have them go to a refi specialist and see what all the particulars are, how much income they have to show for how long, what the payment's going to be, all that good stuff. So these decisions are not made in a vortex. They do require, number one, in my opinion, being identified early on, so that as the divorce goes along and we start to decide on division of assets and debts, anything that we may do that would require some research or time is already rolling, right? You're not left with, okay, we're at the end of the process. Here's your marriage settlement agreement. Now go out and figure out how to move your retirement plans, figure out, you know, how to sell the house or whatever the case may be. So we like to jump on all of these types of decisions early, send the clients to the appropriate professionals so they can get the information they need to empower themselves, so we can help them negotiate, give them the information, and hopefully get on to a new life sooner rather than later.
Mhm. Awesome.
Often what I do is once I saw the home or I have a good idea what its value is, I will make a recommendation as to what small renovations or improvements can be made to increase to get to the highest net for the couple to sell the property. And then I will establish a net sheet. That net sheet then I will provide to Joanne, and then she can use the estimated net sheet to go about her numbers there as well.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's a great resource. We have some clients in common right now, and it's challenging because the house needs quite a bit of work, and the health of the occupants is not very good. But we're going to have to kind of weed through that, and I really appreciate having that expertise there to help them get through this.